Tonight is a celebration of music from my country. Very unusual, 3 prominent composers I feel very close to. They have been in my life, my professional life, kind of always, all 3 of them. And in the spirit of the festival, they are revolutionaries in their own ways. I think Nielsen, whose piece is the earliest written, wanted to revolutionize the idea of a symphony. And in several of his symphonies, he added other elements to the orchestra. And in this symphony, he adds an extra set of timpani that puts the whole orchestra in kind of relief, because there is another possibility. And with this, he also, I think, overcome the struggle which the extra instrument brings. And in that way, he is able to create a tension so that the apotheosis, which ends the symphony, is deeply felt. He was also reacting against a heavy German influence in Danish music life and in music life in general. And he wanted to find another path, another kind of harmony, another kind of expression, which was in a way more direct, and I think without him wanting it, brought in a kind of light from the north. Langgaard was a revolutionary in his own way because he wrote music like no one else. When he began writing modernist music in the 1910s, he caught onto something which was uniquely personal. And he said it came to him like a shower of rain, the vision for how this music could be. And the quartet, when I heard that as a teenager first time, I thought, it's too much for just 4 people to play this music. It is so explosive. It needs a bigger stage, and the message is more universal. Because like Nielsen, he creates this tension so that when finally a chorale is brought back in full power, it is like the apotheosis in Nielsen. And we can feel, wow, that was well deserved, and we must celebrate. But he does it in a language which is so uniquely his own and so revolutionary his own. And with the 3rd string quartet, he never went further. That's his last piece of modernism. After that, he stopped his revolution. So it is as far as it got. With Abrahamsen, I think it's a more quiet revolution he is doing. And I think it is what is possible with a singer and orchestra to create an illusion, a kind of sense of magic, of timelessness, and still something very touching. He brings in elements from late Romanticism, but he brings in also completely his own kind of mechanics. He enters an idea, he enters another idea, and another idea, and they somehow live their own lives together, and out of that something develops, which even he couldn't foresee, I think. And in that way, he sets something in motion, which is beyond us, and that is part of the beauty of this piece, I think.
So this is my first time singing this amazing work, Let Me Tell You. And sometimes as I'm mentioning to people, it's almost funny because the name is Let Me Tell You. So I say, well, let me tell you I'm singing Let Me Tell You. I first heard this piece at Carnegie Hall probably 10 years ago. And I remember being so enchanted. And I think it is absolutely one of the modern masterpieces that we have today from any living composer. And I have had the privilege of singing many women who go mad on the operatic stage. I've sung Ophélie in Thomas Hamlet, for instance, and I'm very familiar with Ophelia. So this is yet another amazing view of that character. I think that as you were saying, the internal logic of a person who is trying so very hard to hold on to reason. And they create, as we all do, even in our minds if they're not quite right, We create our own internal logic, and you hear that in the music, in this willingness in 3 of the movements to try to go between 9/8 and 2/2 with the same pulse the whole time. And they're trying so hard to line up their existence, but they just can't. And so we return to this idea, and then there's this thought about music and time, which I think is such a beautiful thing, of course, for every musician. It's like pure music, and I was told also that Hans was quite inspired by Mahler's Fourth Symphony when he was kind of thinking about some of this, and in that there's a child's vision of heaven. So there's this purity to the piece and to the character. And I think if it becomes, Ophelia is of course so pure in some ways and so earnest. So when we have this very earnest person speaking about time and music and trying to understand perhaps what has happened to her, it's doubly complicated by the fact that the text is taken from Shakespeare, but it's reordered. So of course it's not, in a way, actually Shakespeare, and yet it is. So I think the mysterious, ephemeral, kind of crazy, light, beautiful, earnest quality of this music is like nothing else for a modern audience that might be familiar with some of these other pieces, but also might not. I think the character of Ophelia, throughout history, people have been fascinated by and obsessed with in various cultures. And this is just yet another offering of a different side of what she could be. And there is, I will say, I think, great grace and fragility in her, but there's also so much strength. There's so much strength in a woman who goes a bit crazy, because I think we can all relate a bit to that. There is so much logic in women, and they sometimes go so far for that logic because they want to understand something that perhaps is actually a bit simpler, but they're driven to this.
I think I first conducted the orchestra in the 90s when I was very young, and we went around to several festivals in northern Italy. And again, somewhere in the 2000s, we've been also Stresa, Bergamo, Brescia, various places, and I've always enjoyed the wonderful musicianship. I mean, it takes something for everyone to dive into this really unfamiliar program for everybody, and I've been super impressed with the approach and the wholehearted music making throughout. So it's a great joy.
It's a great honor for me to be here. This is my first time with the orchestra, and as you said, to do such challenging and interesting music with them and watch the way that they can approach it and absorb it in such a short rehearsal is amazing. I've spent a lot of time with this piece, and to watch them experience it and make it their own is just a joy. That's the collaborative thing that I think we all wait for and look forward to.